Hey everyone, welcome back for another fun episode of My Favorite Product. I can't believe we've never talked about Tesla on the show, and we're going to today. We're here with Deepak Deolalikar. Deepak, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. And it's my pleasure and great to see you again.
Yeah, likewise. If you wouldn't mind, I always like to start off with just a quick intro. Tell us about yourself.
Yes, my life has grown into like three different phases. The first phase was I was a programmer and I was building software for small, medium factories back in India before I moved to the US. So I did a lot of coding, a lot of selling. I was an entrepreneur, building ERP, CRM, like early 90s when these buzzwords didn't exist. I came to the US and then I quickly got into management consulting. So I was in management consulting for 12 years, KPMG, which became Bearing Point and Capgemini. But my life changed in 2009. I was actually laid off during the height of the credit crisis. And I took some time off and I was introduced to this gentleman who had just moved in from Germany to do a new startup. And he said, I need some help. I don't know anybody in Silicon Valley. And as you can see from my background, I live about 40 miles south of San Francisco. I said, I'm willing to help you. Let's just try it for 3 months. I ended up staying for 6 years in that startup, and that transformed my life. And I basically did everything in there, but my official title was more as a VP of product over there.
Ah,
But in a startup, a product manager almost does everything,
yeah.
including getting coffee, getting snacks from Costco. I even trained the salespeople on sales enablement. I connected their Vonage phone to the Salesforce systems and all of that stuff. It was a great experience. And then I joined Sugar CRM in 2015, which was another transformative job. And Sugar CRM was struggling when I joined. They didn't have that many releases. So we turned the ship around and we started having quarterly releases. Personally, I was involved in 4 different product releases over there, and I had a great time. And then in 2020, during the height of COVID, I joined BrightEdge, where they asked me to build a brand new product. Unfortunately, their priorities had shifted. So I left BrightEdge last year in May. And since then, I have been doing mostly two things. I have been advising startups at Berkeley, Skydeck, and other places. And I teach product management courses at Haas School of Business and Institute of Product Leadership.
Wow.
And I'm now transitioning myself into a full-time startup coach and advisor.
Yeah. Sounds like you've done a fair amount of it already, and
Yeah.
exciting. And now you'll be advising all of us in this session today. So thank you for
And
your
learning
time.
too.
Yeah, that's the fun part of this. We're all learning. And just before we jump into Tesla, I have to ask, I loved your description of a product person at a startup. I think that's probably even true for larger companies than that, right? Product getting involved in different areas of the business. I actually like doing sales enablement when I'm allowed to. Um, do you think of product management as a jack of all trades, or is there something that we're specialists in as well?
Yeah.
Sorry, I
So
didn't I
that
didn't prep you with that question, but I figured.
no, that's okay. I got the, but I don't. I want to change the framing of that question just a
Sure.
little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Whether you are a jack of all trade or whether you're a master of one or a few, that's your personality thing. But let's take it from a responsibility thing. Uh, it's actually very funny that this year, July 2024, marks 15 years of my experiences in product. So
Okay.
the startup that I joined, where I met this founder, was actually July 25th, literally like 2 days from now.
Oh wow.
And I was planning to write a blog post on 15 things I have learned in these 15 years. And believe it or not, the first thing, it is your job. Everything is your job. So whether do the marketing have the right message on the website? Do the salespeople have the right demo? Do the salespeople have the right talking points? Can they talk about competitive differentiation? Does finance have everything set up for selling your product? The
Yeah.
sales ops have everything. It is your job. Now, the actual mechanics of the go-to-market campaign or the webinar may be done by somebody else, but it is your job to make sure as a product manager that the product that I have built is being conveyed in the right manner. The right value proposition is being conveyed. And so your job is not just to build that Python code and SQL queries. That's not the product. Your product is the entire experience, starting from the awareness stages all the way to post-sales support. Is the support team ready to handle support cases? Where can support cases rise more often? Can I do something in the product to reduce that? It is your job. So it's whether you want to call that a jack of all or not, it doesn't really matter to me whether I'm good at that or not. I'm not good at support, but it is my job to make sure that the support team is equipped. So I
Yeah,
like to think of the spectrum of the responsibilities that is a product manager's job for sure.
that's great. Yeah, and that holistic product experience that you mentioned might be a good segue to get into our or your favorite product in this case, Tesla.
Yeah, absolutely.
You told me a little bit before we started how that was one of the things you admired, not to step on it, but go into that a little bit more. What do you love about Tesla? What have you really grown
Yeah.
to favor
Um,
there?
so this is during the COVID time. I start this new job. And I need to upgrade a little bit of my life, new wardrobe, new clothes, blah blah blah. So I had an Acura 2003 TL. I loved that car. I have fond memories of my car, and I still have pictures of them. I drool over them. I had like an emotional connection to my Acura. Unfortunately, I had a very serious accident. I was not hurt, but I had an accident which led the car total. So I had to buy a new car. So I'm now shopping around. Naturally, uh, Acura does a fantastic job of getting repeat buyers. So I went to the Acura dealer, tried out a few cars here and there. But then Tesla was making a lot of noise about their cars at that time of time, especially with Model 3. And I decided to give it a try. I did some research. The good thing about Tesla is you can do a lot of research on their website. They let you try it out, and we'll talk a little bit about why I like the whole experience. And I tried it out, and I bought it. Now, the actual aha moment came a little bit later for me after driving it for like a few months. Your stress levels driving a Tesla are drastically reduced. The noise level is lower. There's so much automation in the car. And I was worried I'll get into an accident again. Remember, I had this accident, and I was so scared of getting too close. One of my a friend of mine actually observed that, hey, Deepak, when you stop at a stop light, you are like so far away from the car in the front. I said, yeah, once bitten, twice shy. I'm not doing that again. I'm going to keep my distance. But Tesla, it reduces your stress levels. The comfort of driving is just significantly better.
Hmm.
They've taken so many edge cases and corner cases into account, and the interface is quite intuitive. It's almost like an Apple kind of an experience. My boss at Sugar used to ask me, "Hey, do you have a manual for an iPhone?" And I said, "No, that you don't need one, right?" That's how we should design our products. And
Hmm.
Tesla has that. I to date, I actually don't think I have ever read a Tesla manual. Everything is so easy to use, self-explanatory, and so on and so forth. So that's the genesis of how I ended up buying the Tesla. But what blew me away was even further out. Should I continue with my whole experience?
Yeah, I want to jump in because you touched on something that I feel like I say way too much to the folks I work with, which is I see something in our user experience and I go, that doesn't make sense to me. Especially if I'm a new employee, new user, and I'm looking at it for the first or second time. And the response that it really makes my skin crawl is, yeah, but if you read the manual, it'll describe that, or the support
Yeah,
docs.
yeah.
You said
Or,
manual for
or,
the
or,
iPad,
or we can train them in during
or we could
onboarding.
train them. Yeah, we could charge them for train. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. No, the product should be intuitive enough. We shouldn't
Yeah,
have to ask them to go read support docs, which if you printed it out might be 200 pages
yeah,
to get this stuff.
absolutely.
So to
One
hear
of
you
the
say
things
that
that
makes sense.
one of the tag words that I used when I was at Sugar before you joined over there
Yeah,
was the keyword is effortlessness. And
yeah.
to me, when we say better experience, seamless experience, what does that really mean? Um, Experience means that the cognitive load on the user needs to be reduced. The
Yeah.
effort taken, the number of steps taken needs to be reduced. That's what makes an experience better, right? It's not just about colors and having a green button. That's not user experience to me. Yeah, you need to have a visual language and so on, and there is a place for all that. I'm not discounting that. But when you talk about user experience, you have to think in terms of how much effort does a person take to get a particular job done,
Yeah.
whether it's buying a car or driving a car or servicing a car, whatever that may be. If you can reduce the effort on my part, that lends to a superior experience. So as product managers, whatever stage of your product that you're designing for, think about the cognitive load. There's actually a very good book to read by Steve Crook called Don't Make Me Think.
Yeah.
And it takes, that book is more a user-centric
A
design
classic one.
approach, but as a
Yeah.
product manager, that's your job, right? Hey, let's say I'm building a reporting tool, and I'll make it easy to make a report for you, but that's one level. Level two, why do you need a report? Oh, I just want to see some exceptions in there. So why don't I just alert you when there is an exception there? You don't need a report. Now, that's even a better idea. Like, it goes back to, if you ask the users what they want, they will say faster horses, right?
Yeah.
But they will never say, I need a car. So that's the same analogy I apply for experience, effortlessness. How do I reduce the effort on part of the user?
Yeah. So to go back to your story, you didn't, I don't, maybe you knew that going in, but you loved your Acura.
Mm-hmm.
You had an unfortunate accident. What made you say, I'm going to go try Tesla now? Like, what was it? Was it just all the hype that was going on, or was it,
Um,
I'm looking for something else with maybe better safety, or what was the criteria?
yeah, definitely the EV part, environment, climate change was definitely on top of my mind,
Yep.
and also total cost of ownership is important to me. I'm a cash flow guy, so everything has to cash flow for me. So uh, cost was definitely a factor, and I looked at the cost of an Acura versus the total cost of a Tesla Model 3, and they were not too far apart. And I said, well, it came into my consideration set, let's just put it that way. So I had my short list of cars, like maybe uh, an Acura, maybe a Toyota, maybe a Lexus. And so Model 3 came into my consideration set. So that's how I decided to give it a try. And I liked the whole experience that they had set up. So starting from the awareness stages, you go to their website, you can actually start configuring your car right there and then, and it gives you the price. So they are already in sales mode for you. They're not giving you a demo or so on. You can go to the Tesla website right now and start configuring. It's exactly
Yeah.
like an Apple experience. There's a
Yeah.
buy button right there, right? So you're already taking some objections already out of my head, right? Now, you can actually set up an appointment for a test drive right there, like on the website. They set up, pick up that date, you go there, they are already waiting for you. You just go into the car, drive it around, come back, and it's all done.
Huh.
And then when you buy the car, you buy it online, you configure your options. I want this color, blah, blah, blah. And you just pay like some advance money. And then on the day of the, I was lucky. I got delivery within 3 weeks. It was Christmas Day. I got the email actually, 2020. And on that email was a payment link. You make the payment. And on 27th of December, the car is actually outside my house. I wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning and there's a blue Tesla outside my house. They
Not too
just left
bad.
it. And
Really?
they don't give you the key. They don't hand over anything. They give you a text message, click here to open your car.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I clicked on it and the car opened. And inside was a card key, which is the actual key. Now the card key is already calibrated to the car. I just opened my Tesla app, which I downloaded right there and then. And I just connected the car key with that. And that's it. My phone, this is my key now. My phone is my key. And it was such a seamless experience. I never talked to any salesperson. I never talked to anybody to take possession of the car. The whole experience was really good in terms of the experience. So that's another good point that I want to highlight here is, yeah, for a product manager, product is not just the widget. It's not just your Python code or a web app. or a
Yeah.
mobile app. Your product is the entire chain with which your customer receives value, starting from the awareness stages all the way to post-sales service. Like, even you might think that, hey, I'll just build my product, my job is done. If they have a bug or something, they'll just report to the support team and support team will take care of it. No, it is your job to, and first of all, ensure bugs don't appear as far as possible. But I understand it's a software product, bugs do happen. But even if they do happen, it is your job to make sure that, first of all, support team is well equipped to handle that.
Yeah.
And second of all, you take that into your backlog and say, how do I make sure that something like this never happens? What else could go wrong? So
Yeah.
that I don't, so in an ideal world, there should not be any support ticket. I know we don't live in an ideal world, but that's how your mindset should work,
Yeah.
is my philosophy.
Yeah. And figuring out if it's something worth pursuing or if there's another way to pursue it.
Exactly.
It's interesting to hear you. I've had all sorts of questions pop into my head as you were talking about your purchase experience, because I read an article last night, ironically, about, or coincidentally, about Elon Musk and how he adheres to first principles. And I never really knew what that meant, first principles. The way they describe it in the article is he thinks about things without any pre-existing conditions or history. So, traditionally, I would think if you're going to spend that much on a car, you'd want someone to hand deliver it and shake your hand and walk you through all the options and all the controls. Do you think it's just good marketing that they obviously appealed to someone like yourself who didn't want any of that and was happy just to get a text message? And how much credit should we give Tesla and Elon Musk for kind of reinventing that whole experience?
I think 100%. I totally agree with that first principles approach, and you can actually feel it in that entire experience. Even actually after sales, I once had a break-in in my car in Sunnyvale, and I had to make an appointment. There were some glitches, so I went online, set up an appointment, dropped my car. They gave me a loaner. Or actually, no, it's very interesting. They don't give you a loaner car. You know what they do? They give you a gift voucher for Uber for
Uh-huh.
exactly that day.
Oh,
You
interesting.
cannot use that gift voucher 2 weeks down the road to go to a friend's house or to the airport. It's only for that day.
Has to be
Uh,
there. Yeah.
so I guess they must have worked with Uber to make sure that there is an expiration date on that gift voucher, and they give you a gift voucher so that you can come home, and then they give you another gift voucher for the return to pick up your car.
Yeah.
And so that whole experience is all on the app. It's extremely user friendly. Uh, there were some glitches that they had. They ran out of my part and they had to reorder it. But anyway, that sometimes that happens. So going back to your question, that I would say Elon Musk has really taken that whole first principles to heart in this whole experience itself.
Yeah.
Now, I also feel there is a hidden economic cost in the old model. You're hiring people, you have this big dealership, marketing cost, people shaking your hand, giving you options, fleecing you, giving you nervousness. You know, when you buy the car the old way, you are always nervous. And I'm from India, and I want the best deal. So I'm very
Me
cost
too.
conscious. And so I'm always nervous. Am I getting the best deal
Oh,
in
I
my
think we all
last
are.
car?
I think we all are.
Yeah, I believe me, some people don't care. Yeah, I had this extended warranty. Yes, give me this
Yeah.
platinum package. I am not like that. So it always gave me nervousness. I feel that whole hands-off experience also contributed a lot in my consideration set for Tesla also. It wasn't just the car itself. The whole experience was also a factor for my purchase. So that's another lesson from a product management perspective that actually I was reading a very interesting article around this is not related to product, by the way, but related topic. The state of Singapore. So the founder of the state of Singapore, Lee, what he used to say, that I want to make Singapore one of the best economies, the best places for people who want to come and visit here, right?
Huh.
So you know what? The biggest investment he made was in the airport design, and the whole ride from the airport to the hotel in downtown area. Singapore is not that big, but
Huh.
he wanted to make sure We call it the onboarding experience, onboarding to Singapore. That I'll make that experience so good for you. You will love the airport. You will love our shuttles and taxi service and the roads and going into the downtown, that you will want to come again and do business with Singapore. Think
Oh,
about that.
interesting. Yeah. First impression type
First impressions matter. But again, taking that first principles into account, what do people care about most? They care about their well-being. They care about their emotional jobs to be done, social jobs to be done, right? And that's what Tesla did really remarkably well, in my opinion.
Yeah, it seems like Elon, I don't know if he identifies areas that can be rethought, but he did it with the rocket science, right? And getting with SpaceX, he's done it now with Tesla, as we've talked about, and I think he even did it with his kids' school, which is built a school and said we don't need accreditation. Like that's just something that was made up, and he really does question the why a lot on these things. So I want to get to what's typically the hardest question in this in the show. We know you love Tesla. They've won your affection, but anything you'd change, anything that you'd say is could be improved there across the entire experience?
I think not the entire experience per se, but I feel Tesla goes more after problem-aware customer base. What I mean by that is, if you are already convinced that you need an EV and you want to buy an EV car and you're mindful about climate and so on, they do a good job of telling you that this is a better car, but they don't do as good a job of to the problem unaware customer. So imagine I was in the Acura Lexus mode of buying. Actually, I was not looking at Lexus. I was looking at Kia. And they had a hybrid car as well. I have another hybrid, the Prius, that my wife drives. So I was looking at Kia as well. But I didn't get any literature. No, I actually went into Reddit and found blogs that somebody to tell me don't buy a Acura, go for it. Nothing like that exists today. So I think they left out a whole swath of market, which may be deliberate because they don't have the capacities right now to produce that many cars as GM or Ford can do. At some point, they will go after the real mass market. So I say they have crossed the chasm into the mainstream, the early parts of the mainstream, and now they are going out to the big mainstream. So like I have a lot of friends who swear they will never buy a Tesla. Well, because they have not been made aware the advantages of the Tesla. And I think the mistake most people make is they compare a combustion-driven car in terms of feature. Oh, if I want to go to Lake Tahoe, can my Tesla go with 4 people inside that? Answer is yes, because I've done it myself. But that's what they're worried about. But they don't look at the whole total cost of ownership, the whole experience, and the friction that it reduces for you, the overall stress level it reduces for you. And I think I'm glad I made that choice. It was accidental. It was not intentional. It was accidental. And that I chose, I did that test drive, but I think I'm glad I did that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Good, weird timing because I've been shopping for a car. The one I have is on the fritz, and did a demo drive. They don't call it a test drive; they call it a demo drive with Tesla. And I know this isn't exactly what you're saying, but I almost wanted to be sold a little bit more. There was only one person at the store. He basically gave me the keys and said, "You can have it
on your own. Yeah,
on your own. You can bring it home. You bring it back whenever you want." He showed me how to use it, which, to your point, there wasn't a whole lot of friction. It was easy for me to figure out. I've never driven one before. So they made it, the cognitive load was as minimal as it could be. But I would have liked to have heard a little bit more of a pitch on, why isn't, what the cost of ownership might be, and
what else you are considering.
It was almost like you're buying the hype, you're buying the product, but you don't need a sales team to help you make that decision, which I actually found to be quite surprising.
Yeah, and I think maybe because Tesla thinks that marketing can help them get there.
Yeah.
They have enough of the problem-aware customers right now because there is a backlog of cars.
Yeah.
So who wouldn't want a backlog of orders for your product, right?
Right. Right.
So
They
maybe
can't.
maybe it's not a priority for them right now, but maybe that's a future thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe it's purposeful why they're not
Maybe. But otherwise,
overselling.
I wouldn't change anything in their whole. There's some work that they still have to do on the service part, on the back end part of the service. What actually happened was I got a message that my glass has been fixed. So I went there in Uber to pick, and I used my Uber credits, so pick up, and I'm sitting in the car, and I look back. Hey, did they fix it? And it's still broken, exactly the same way, and with my little aluminum cover. So I went back in, and they said, "Oh, there was a mistake. We ran out of what the part, and the mechanic forgot to mention that in the thing. He thought the car is." So there was some status update or some change I don't know. So they had to order the part from another showroom or something, service center. I had to wait another day for that. So
All right. So they're
there
still
was a
ironing
minor
out some
thing,
of the
like still
wrinkles.
ironing out a few things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I guess,
I've heard they've started a body shop as well, but so far, luckily, I have not had the need.
yeah, that's good to hear. Cool. So last question. I don't know if you're a product manager or, in the product space, what learnings can we take away from Tesla? How has it changed your thinking about products? I know you've already mentioned a few things, so can
Yeah,
circle back to those, or if there's anything new that you're thinking
yeah.
about.
I think don't. My biggest advice to product managers is your product is not just the physical manifestation of the code or the web app or the mobile app or you write the specs for that. You have to think about it from the whole experience perspective, including like emotional jobs or social jobs as well. So think about the entire experience that your user goes through, and make sure there is a linkage to the product or marketing or notification or support or customer success, onboarding. Like even onboarding is such an important part. We tend to say, hey, here's the product onboarding team, go ahead and get it done.
Yeah.
But no, it is your job to make sure that the onboarding team is successful. They are not the product people. Their
Right.
job is to just give the ramp to the customer that, hey, this is how you get to the aha moment. But it is your job to figure out what that aha moment is. What are the steps needed to get to the aha moment? You have to design all of that up front. And that I think, and I always say the PM, the word PM, we always miss out the M part of it and we focus on the P part of it, the product part of
Oh,
it.
that's great.
But
That's great advice.
you
Yes.
are the M of the P. You are the manager of the product. I think that's a more accurate way of describing rather than saying, when you say product manager, you tend to think you have some high level status of being a manager. No, you are managing the experience of the entire product, is what I look at it.
It's so important. And I really do, people heed your advice on that. I learned by accident, and my worry is that other PMs aren't going to have that opportunity. Whereas I looked at it at the time, I was a manager of a product that really no one in the company cared much about at a certain point. And they were like, yeah, we're going to kill it because it's not growing. And I thought, well, there's still a market for this product, and it still has a place in in our industry. And me and I think at that point I had a small team. We took on all the things that you mentioned. We went around the
Yeah.
country, did sales enablement. We looked at we looked at our onboarding process, but that was only out of necessity because they were about to cut our product and we needed
Yeah.
to maximize growth. However, it
Yeah.
had to it was almost like we were business owners. We weren't, or general
Yeah.
managers. We weren't even, the product man or the product part, the P, that you mentioned before, became less of a concern. And we had to think about all those different, the holistic experience.
Right.
And I'm so happy you're sharing that wisdom
Yeah.
because I don't think a lot of PMs are trained to do that.
And in fact, my worry also is that I have now, between Berkeley and the other institute, I have trained about 130, 140 product managers. And I keep telling them, product is a business role. It is not a specific requirements gathering role.
Right.
Then don't call yourself a PM. Maybe you're at best a business analyst. You have to think, So what happens is like, hey, you have to worry about revenue and cost. Oh, that's the finance person's job. Hey, you have to worry about your positioning and differentiated value. Oh, isn't that the marketing's job? Oh, I have to worry about onboarding and support. Isn't that the customer success team's job? No, everything is your job. So that's my number one learning that I'm putting on my website and on my blog. 15 years of learning. The number one is it is your job. Everything is your job to get it done.
Should make t-shirts. One of those.
It's a great idea.
Deepak, I can see why you're a successful product coach. I felt like I was one of your students for the last 20, 30 minutes we've been here. I've learned a lot. Yeah, and happy anniversary, happy 15th, 15-year anniversary of being in product
Two more
management.
days. July 25th, 2009, I started my product journey. It's 23rd today.
Well, it's your job to celebrate in 2 days. That's
Yes.
you deserve it. Take a day off and enjoy that milestone. But Deepak, thanks so much for being here. It was a pleasure.
Thanks. It's a pleasure.